Right, so before I came up here, I was like kind of nervous and stuff. And I looked at my phone, and it looked like this, where I'll show you a screenshot, but it showed me a big yellow. And I was like, oh, okay. And I started breathing calmly. And that's really what our lab is about at Stanford. This graph I'm going to explain to you later, but if you knew what it was saying, it could change your life. That's what we're trying to do with our technology. This is a great quote from Andrew Weil, a medical doctor at the University of Arizona. If I had to limit my advice on healthier living to just one tip, it would be simply to learn how to breathe correctly. That's a big statement from a physician. From the contemplative perspective, without full awareness of breathing, there can be no development of meditative stability and understanding. Pretty big statements, and we see this kind of thing again and again from a lot of different perspectives. So right here at the Stanford VA, poets, yogic practitioners and scientists, psychologists, therapists, there's something about breath. Which is why we started developing technology-augmented breath awareness. We started out at the desktop, trying to sense and influence the way that information workers were breathing while they were working. Linda Stone has a great article on email apnea, screen apnea, people holding their breath for 3 minutes, and then got through 12 emails. Then we started to build in incentive systems directly into the operating system, quantifying your calm, essentially, and your stress. See, what's interesting about the breath is that it is both a reflection of the state of your mind and it's a lever. It's both. And it's really the only thing like that. We then started doing notifications to develop self-awareness about your state. Something that escapes us for the whole day or perhaps the whole week until the weekend when we think, oh, this is what being calm is. Perhaps it takes a whole year until you get to a vacation where you're walking in the woods and you realize, why aren't I like this all the time? We tried milestones and things like that to gamify your state. And we eventually came to this thing that we call breathware. And the name of my dissertation at Stanford was augmented self-regulation. We want to use technology not to just give you more information about how you can do more or do different. We want to change the way you be. We want you to change the way you be. We want to help you do that. Breathware works in a number of different ways. Here it's giving you a notification to give you a positive exemplar so that you know what calm feels like, because we often forget. Hey, you just had 30 minutes of calm. What are you doing? You're really, really calm during that time. You might open the app and see, oh, I'm in the green. Nice. Or you might look and say, oh, I'm just kind of right in the middle of where I usually am. Or, what you don't want to see, generally speaking, is this. Below, that strip is in the past 10 minutes. Below that, you see real-time information. This is not a product. It's just a research prototype, so it's not very pretty. We're experimenting with points and so on. Here's another notification. Careful, you're breathing 5 breaths per minute above your normal rate. Touch here to try a breathing exercise, developed by my colleague Takahiro over there. So you open that up and you do a breathing exercise that is evaluated. And you can even get points during that time. I can look back and see over the past 5 days, what was my week like? How many points was I getting, and so on. I can look and see on this day, how am I doing? It's pretty early. I wanted to bring up one of the users of a study that we ran to tell you about her experience.
So I'm Leslie. I was one of the study participants, and one thing I did after using this sensor was to actually graph the data that it was recording. And I was actually surprised to find out that I tried meditating and saw that obviously would bring down my breath, but reading was surprisingly lower compared to surfing the web, which I guess made me really nervous. And the 2 other things I learned was the day after I had actually tried meditating to reduce my breath rate, got it down to 2 minutes, or 2 breaths per minute. And then finally I noticed that even just wearing the sensor just being on my body made me work my breath even though it wasn't necessarily running software. So just some insights there from using this software.
Thanks. So given another notification that the user opens up and delivers a kind of self-awareness exercise. You know, hey, do you feel like you have enough time in the day today? And you're using this data to label your data later when you look at it. We try and quantify things and give you points for stuff. This notification says, careful, you're breathing above your normal rate. Touch here to take a photo of your current activity. You might go and say, hey, wow, I was driving at the time. I didn't really stress I'm in a traffic jam. Later, a week later, you can look back at your data and see what you were doing. So we actually did a trial with a number of users. There's 5 of them. These are some of the first graphs of longitudinal respiration rates. And what's interesting here is that you have the bell curve, which is nice to see, but then you have this user. And we were like really interested, well, what's up with this guy? We looked at the data some more and saw how many calm points he was getting per hour, and he was blowing all the other users away. He was a meditator. Here he is again, without number 2 there, no red notifications, very few. This is a 20-minute time period of a particular user, and what this graph is showing is how the system notifications are shifting the user's state. We're not interested in just monitoring, we're interested in influence, developing your self-regulatory ability, your self-awareness in real time. Thank you so much. I would love to hear your questions.
So let's all take a deep breath, and then we'll start with some questions for Neema.
So, couple, but mainly, does the software prompt for emotions at the time? Like, can you track your emotional state?
So it doesn't do that yet. It's pretty easy for us to add it.
Right.
We're actually going to be doing more longitudinal analysis of your breathing rates. The work hasn't been done. I mean, we're kind of on the cutting edge, but we're hoping that we can deduce that kind of stuff. But
the other question is, can I get one?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to put together people that would help make this a reality. Yeah.
So speaking of getting one, would you be willing to show what it looks like?
So right now I'm wearing the sensor. It's like you can't know I'm wearing it, and it's before I lift my shirt. It's pretty bulky and prototypey, but it's going to be like a sexy little band. This is it right here. So it's got some wires on it. What it does is as you stretch, it's got this polymer that just kind of stretches very subtly.
Wait, breathe in and breathe out so you can see it.
Sound effects.
Yeah.
Don't you think that the breathing data on its own would be motivating enough? Like, why do you have to add points? I just find that a little...
Yeah, we're just experimenting. It's a lot to discuss.
Have you tried, I mean, I suppose it's difficult, placebo control. I mean, is there a way of perhaps providing no feedback or even random feedback? You know, have them wear the device and capture the data so you've got
we actually do that. We have a mode where it shows you no feedback, so we can get your baselines, and we've only done it on a 24-hour period. I think that my sense is that there will be a novelty effect, and after a week, you wouldn't really be interested in wearing it, and the effects might.
I mean, you could produce random feedback.
That's true.
Based on some randomized model.
Yeah.
And that might be an interesting control to see if the feedback, even if it's incorrect feedback.
That's true. I mean, I can tell you just right before I started, I was in a very different state than where I am right now. And it really is due to this. It wasn't due to just a random buzz. But yeah, Asha.
Did you get any information from users about just their experience overall with respect to work productivity, or did they feel happier, any sort of behavioral measures?
The most consistent one was, holy shit. I'm always in control of my breathing, and it's always a reflection of what I'm doing. We weren't really doing the trial for long enough of the time to measure productivity gains or sleep differences, but I'm pretty confident with you know, all these practitioners have been are speaking the truth over all this time, that you see like massive differences in your life, and sleep and energy and self-awareness, really, which opens up whole new doors of experience that you don't really get with, you know, just kind of doing. Yeah, let me take some of them. Yeah.
Is there a strong enough correlation between heart rate and your breathing that you can use a heart rate monitor instead?
Yeah. So to get this data with a heart rate monitor, you actually can't for everybody. There are perhaps some people that you could get it for because their HRV amplitude is so high, but you need a very high accuracy heart rate monitor. Basis claims to be able to do this, but they don't have a product, and I'm also just not sure they can do it to the degree of accuracy that we need, because it's really, if you're not accurate, if you're not like at least decently accurate with this, it won't really work. The thing is that we're also not like the sensor guys, you know. We're really focusing on the services, the software, like what's the behavior design of it. I mean, the sensor is just like a very basic thing that we could bring about, but clearly in the future there's going to be other sensors, and we're really sensor agnostic. Yeah.
Can I advocate for stress? It just seems to me that like stress-free living isn't necessarily the optimal life. And I mean, I wonder what made you want to be always calm.
So actually, like the word we use, stress, isn't really like a meaningful word, because there's always stress in our environments, and there's clearly a need for that. We use the word calm as differentiated from relaxed. You know, calm is a place of performance. Calm is the quarterback in a pocket. You know, calm is like Tiger Woods about to hit a putt. You know, it's like me giving a talk. If I'm like really jazzed, and you guys are going to feel it, and I'm going to seem a certain way. You know, so calm is a place of performance. It's high productivity. It's like flow. It's that kind of state where you're not like.
But is that what you're measuring?
We're not doing flow. We're not doing flow.
No, but I mean, it just seemed like, you know, it looked like it was like a low breath rate, whereas, you know, I can imagine puffing up, and especially exercise, you're definitely going to have a high breath rate.
Yeah, so we also differentiate between these kind of high activity, like,
okay.
Yeah, you're running and you want a high breath rate. And also, the system isn't, the goal of the system isn't keep your breath as low as possible. The goal of the system is self-awareness, okay, and self-regulation. So you are in command about when you want to be where. The question is, you know, do you need some help to know even where you are? And then if you have some intentions, around where you want your breath, the system can support that. So this is kind of like just very early on in terms of the functionality of the software, but even today we were kind of making big leaps about what we possibly do.
So I think we have time for two more questions.
The next speaker could hook up.
Yeah, we're doing something.
Okay.
I usually get very tense when my blood pressure is being checked. Did you observe anything similar with your users, or is blood pressure different from respiration?
Do you get tense when you measure your breathing, respiration rate?
Blood pressure.
I know, but you're asking me about respiration.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that there's almost definitely a certain kind of like observation effect of sorts. You know, like you know your breath's being monitored, so it changes. You know, it definitely would. And it's the kind of thing, you know, this is a continuous moment to moment, really varying over weeks, months, years. So it's surely an effect that after a few minutes you kind of ignore it. I mean, it just kind of becomes invisible.
So again, it looks like we have time for one more question. Neer?
So do you think that learning how to breathe properly and breathing moderation is a skill that once learned can be practiced forever, or do you need constant monitoring?
So, you know, you don't need anything, right? But having a relationship with your breath, with the breath, is a lifelong thing. You know, any practitioner that you talk to, they will tell you, I'm still learning. I'm still learning about the breath. That's how intricate it is. So, which is why really I worked on this topic, because I can work on it forever, and it's fine. You certainly have, like, you know, leaps of awareness, but there's never, because essentially the breath is a reflection of your mind. So it's like by saying, oh, I know my breath, well, how well do you know your mind and how your mind adapts to different environments, how it acts in situations that you don't expect it to. I mean, it's something that's sometimes hard to explain, but it's very observable. The breath is very observable, whereas the sweat on your palms you can feel when it's very sweaty, or your heart rate you can feel when it's da-da-da-da. But the breath is a little more delicate.
So let's all thank Neema.